สวัสดีครับผมวิลเลียมนะครับวันนี้เราอยู่กันที่งาน Thailand International Jazz Conference 2018นะครับปีนี้ก็เป็นปีที่10แล้วนะครับสำหรับงานดีๆแบบนี้นะครับครบรอบ10ปีแบบนี้ก็เป็นโอกาสดีๆนะครับที่ผมจะได้สัมภาษณ์สุดยอดมือกลองนะครับที่มาแรงตอนนี้นะครับเขามีซาวด์ที่ไม่เหมือนใครนะครับมีวิธีการโซโล่นะครับเวลาเราฟังเวลาเขาโซโล่เนี่ยสามารถรู้ได้เลยว่าเป็นเขาแน่นอนนะครับวันนี้เรามีโอกาสได้มาคุยกับเขาแล้วครับเขาได้รับอิทธิพลมาจากดนตรีประเภทอะไรบ้างแล้วเขามีวิธีฝึกซ้อมยังไงนะครับทำไมเขาถึงเก่งขนาดนี้วันนี้เรามาคุยกับเขากันครับคุณเฮนรี่โคครับ Hi Henry
How you doing, William?
how you doing good I'm good and you
Good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
yeah your first time in Thailand
First time in Thailand. It's been
How is it?
wonderful. It's been wonderful. I haven't seen that much yet, but what I've seen is very beautiful, and everyone is very nice. So I'm really happy that I came here.
Good for you. Okay. Let's start with the intro. Let's go to the first thing first. Can you tell us a little bit about your musical background?
Yes, I am from Puerto Rico, and I was born into a musical family, but my family was always, they would play more classical music and church music in Puerto Rico. So when I was 4, I started playing the piano by myself, by ear, just listening, and I play in schools, in every activity around. And then at 9, I went to music school because I fell in love with rock music, like hair bands like Striper, Motley Crue, all those hair bands from the 90s. But my music teacher was a trumpet player. He was not a drummer, but he taught me how to read, and it was a very wonderful experience to learn music from him, not necessarily from a drummer, but more of a musical teacher. And I started playing in rock bands, ska bands, punk bands, progressive rock bands. Then I moved to San Juan, the capital of Puerto Rico, to study at the Conservatory of Music, and that's how I started studying classical percussion. So never a drums teacher until this point. It's just everything's trumpet player, the classical education, and that was very important to me that it happened this way. Then when I moved to New York, I studied with John Riley, and I also went to Berkeley for 6 months, and I studied with Skip Hadd. So all my life I have been playing all type of music, because that's the way you make a living in Puerto Rico. You have to play everything. So my journey has been one of, instead of seeing every style as different worlds, I always try to find the links between all of them, and it's been a lot of fun. So now to me it's just one world and just many, than just different worlds separate. So that's what I do.
Is drum is your first instrument?
It's my first instrument. I played the piano when I was 4, and I always I write music on the piano, but I don't consider myself a pianist. You know, I just do very, very basic stuff and melodies. So drums is my first and main instrument. Yeah.
Okay. Who is your favorite drummer, and why?
Favorite drummer. That's a great question, because when I was coming up in Puerto Rico, I saw drummers playing more in the fusion style. They say Dave Weckl, Dennis Chambers, and I liked that, but it was not my favorite somehow. I was very young. But when I saw Giovanni Hidalgo, which is a percussionist, is one of the best congueros in the world, when I saw him playing, and this other percussionist, Anthony Carrillo, who plays bongos, I saw them playing together with Eddie Palmieri. And to me, that's when my life changed, because at that moment when I saw them playing, I realized that I needed to practice, that I need to spend 8 hours on the instrument. I learned all of this from them, you know. So then I studied Giovanni a lot more, and I discovered that he studied with Changuito, which is a great percussionist from Cuba. I used to play with Los Bamban. So Changuito not only plays congas and timbal, but he plays incredible drum set.
Mm.
So I will mention these three guys as my main influences. And then from there, all of the other great drummers.
Nice.
I have many notebooks filled of transcriptions that I do, and 85% of the transcriptions are comping, are not drum solos, right? So I can, because of that, I can tell you that I did transcribe a lot of Roy Haynes and a lot of Elvin and Philly Joe, Elvin Jones, Pete La Roca, used to play with Sonny Rollins. I did transcribe a lot of him, and a lot of percussionists, Ray Barreto, Giovanni Hidalgo, Anthony Carrillo. And until this day, I do transcribe a lot of folkloric music and the musicians.
So do you play hand percussion too?
I don't consider myself a percussionist, like hand percussion, you like say, but I know how it works and I understand how it works, and I can see when it's a good percussionist.
We can hear it from your playing, your soloing.
Yeah, well, thank you. My goal has always been to be. I have this vision of the very tribal figure of a drummer who communicates from one village to the other village. So that's the person I want to be. So maybe that's why you hear in my language all those phrases that comes from Africa and India and all the flamenco music. But the main goal of these phrases is to communicate.
Right.
So that's what I've been trying to do in the drum set.
Right. What is your favorite album? Like, let's say that if you can have only one album and you have to listen to it for your whole life, what is that one?
One album. Wow.
Yeah.
Because I listen to a lot of music. Can I choose two?
Yes.
Okay. So I would choose two, which is still very hard. But in terms of jazz music, I would choose John Coltrane and Duke Ellington. Have you listened to that? It's an album they did together. I think that's my favorite. I would choose that as a jazz album. And then for the Latin language and influence, there's one album that is called the Conga Kings.
Conga
Kings. And it's Giovanni Patato Valdez and Candido Romero. And it's them three together playing through the whole album, playing solos, very simple songs, and they play solos. So you can hear the whole history of the drum, from Candido, Patato, and then Giovanni, the more advanced stuff. If you ask me, I'm going to keep mentioning Giovanni because I can listen to Tony Williams a lot, and what I can say that Giovanni is pretty much like Tony Williams. The thing is that in Giovanni was the guy who made me realize that it's not only the technique side of things, but also the language and the tradition. So I remember this moment where I was playing behind Giovanni and he started playing a solo. I playing a cowbell, and he just do like a long solo, like just language, no rhythms. So by the time he played the first drag or a flam, the audience was gonna die because they were like, whoa. And from there, he still have like another half an hour. You see, so I understood the importance of just being able to play phrases, So I spent a lot of time trying to talk, as we say, on the instrument,
All right, let's get to the drummer question.
Yes.
Yeah, as you are a drummer,
Yes.
right? I'm also a drummer. We're supposed to like keeping a good time, a solid groove, whatever, and we use metronome to practice that. And there is many ways on how to use the metronome. Can you have any suggestion, like creative way of how to use the metronome?
Yes, I always, this is not, I don't think it's very creative, but I do use the metronome in 2/4 a lot. And it never...
For jazz or for all?
Jazz, for all the styles.
All the
Yeah,
styles.
all the styles. And one thing that I do is that if I try to go half time always, So they say if I'm playing, so I put the metronome here. Or if I'm doing ting 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 ting, so here. So never. So I always keep that half time of whatever tempo that I am playing. That's something. So my metronome never goes past 120, you know, never goes past that, because it's always say 60s, 70s, 90s, 100, 116, so like around that. And there I can play double time and half time. Also, that I never, when I practice exercises, I try not to change the tempo of the metronome. So if I can play the an exercises in triplet very well on that specific tempo, instead of changing the speed, I change the rate of the triplet to 16 notes. You see what I'm saying? So it's faster what I'm playing, but the tempo stays the same. You know?
What about some people put metronome on only one or every 2 bars?
Yeah, I've never done it, and I hear that a lot, but it's not something that I've done. You know, so I always keep the half time.
Right.
Because the metronome for me is one of the tools that you have. So
Right.
it's not the only tool. So I use it in that particular way, and then after that, then I change to records, and I change to other type of timekeeping
Right.
references.
What about your warm-up exercise that you
Yes.
often use when you're traveling?
Yeah, I do, and it's beautiful to warm up. You know? It's a really important thing before you play and before you practice. So I always try to keep my practice routine on the road. Never sacrifice that because you're tired or you're changing hotels. I mean, some days it's impossible, but I always try to do it. And interesting about keep doing this is that I find myself in a position that I need to save time because I don't have 4 hours. I have
Right.
1 hour or half
Right.
an hour. And then when you are in that position of that you need to get it done, and you have an hour or 45 minutes, then you come up with some really creative ideas of warming up that you can do 2 things at a time or 3 things at a time to warm up the feet and the hands. But I would say if just to give you an example, 5 minutes each, I do bus rolls, singles, and doubles. That's always. And I've been doing that sometimes before brushing my teeth, you know, just to get it out of the way. You know? So that's a good warm-up if you can add to your day, to start your day. 5, 5, 5, or 10. 10, 10, 10. That's half an hour. You know? So if you don't have half an
Just
hour,
only-
you do 5. Just those 3 things to keep your hands in good shape. You know? After that, I can give you my warm-up routine that I use at home that is basically, it's around 45 to an hour, and very specific, you know. And
Like rudiments, everything.
it includes some rudiments and includes some very basic figures between the bass drum and the snare drum.
Right.
You know, and I can write it to you, and it's all timed with the clock. You know, some exercises are 5 minutes, some are 1 minute, and some are 3 minutes each.
Right. Yeah, I think we saw that a lot on your Instagram. Yeah, right?
Yeah, yes.
Some your
I do that a lot.
your
I try to
practicing
share. Yeah,
clips.
I try to share.
Yeah, and it's quite complex. And there's a concept that you often use in that clip. Can you explain a little bit about it?
You mean the clips are different. What I'm trying to do is to share exercises that to me would work in a very global way, regardless of the style or regardless of. It's not about doing it fast necessarily. And I give you an example that I saw on the gym when you go to do exercise. There's some people doing squats, right? People doing squats one at a time, beginners or you know like me. And I see some people that do squats and then jump, and then when they come down, they do pullover or they do push-ups. So these people are very advanced because they can include 3 things in one, in one repetition,
Yeah.
right?
Like called cross training. Cross
You
training.
can call it cross training. So in drums, you can do the same. Let's say you can practice triplets, like pa 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 pa, and then when you do that for a long time, that you can kind of master it, then you can do something else with your right hand, and that could be triplets or different patterns. So then you add in 2 things, right? And then the third thing that I like to do is just play that over music. So this is very, very good because when you do that with a metronome is one thing, but when we got to do it with the track, then you got to listen more, and you have to adapt to the feel of the song. So I use that as an example, like let's say you're in a recording studio and someone comes to you and say you have to overdub this part to this track, right? And this is the track, this is the part, and you write and you read it and you play until it matches the groove of the track. The only way you can be able to match that really great is that almost you have to come transparent, you see? So you have to become part of the music to make it sound good, your part.
Right.
So that's my mindset when I practice with records. So I repeat one exercise over and over until I can hear the solo, I can hear the bass, and I can hear the form. You know. So when I do that at the hotels, I am practicing listening. I am practicing the muscular thing because of the repetition, and I am practicing the coordination. So those 3 things at the same time. But you can start with one.
Right.
Keep adding. Yeah.
Okay. You have an interesting way on how to tune your drums.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you explain? Can you share that with us a little bit?
For sure. You know, I found myself on the road years ago doing this kind of thing. You know, just on the sound check, just guessing.
Right.
Where I want the drums to sound.
Yes.
And then the first days people are nice. Second week, people start getting tired. By third week, no one wants to really do a sound check. They wanted to get as quick as possible. So they're looking at you like, come on, man, just set the drums.
I can imagine.
Let's go eat. Let's go sleep.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know?
Yeah.
So over time, when I first got my first drum set from DW at home, I took the time to tune each drum with all calmness. Like I take the 12-inch drum and tune it from the beginning, little by little, until I found a place that I liked the sound, the tone, and the feel, right? So when it was there, I went to the piano and listened to this note and tried to get to see in the piano what was the closest note to that. You know, so in my case that was a D. So I wrote down D for the 12. Then I took the 14 from the beginning, where it was that it felt good, and I went and I did the same process with all the set. I think the hardest was the snare, because I wanted to get a place that you could hear the crack and also some ghost notes. And also the bass drum, what I did is I lowered the head here because of the music that we play nowadays has some more rock influences. So I needed that lower thing on the bass drum. But other than that, both heads are the same.
Same pitch.
Same pitch. So my advice to you and all the drummers here would be to take the time and tune the drums at one piece at a time in your house until you like that sound. When you like that sound, go to the piano and try to see what's the closest note to that, and then use that. That's a good starting point. You know. Then I use a pitch pipe to get that sound. So if there's another band playing on the festival, and they have 2 drum sets, while they play, I can tune my drum sets really fast, and then when it's our turn to play, I already know how the drums are going to sound. That's the beautiful part. And then it takes me about 15, depending how is the drums, 15, 20 minutes to do it, and so it's fast. So I know exactly how they're gonna sound and how they're gonna feel.
Right.
You know.
All right. Let's talk about your gear. Like you
Yes.
have DDB drums and your Zildjian cymbals
Yes,
and
for sure.
Vickford stick,
Uh-huh.
and also some LP
Yeah,
percussion, right?
and Aquarian drum heads. Yes.
Yeah, Korean. What do you have here? Like your
These
cymbals?
are pieces of good luck and gold. I mean, this is a symbol that I made at Zildjian factory
Mhm.
with Paul. He's the main Jedi there making symbols, and it took me many years to get to this point because at the beginning my relationship with Paul and Zildjian was me going there and say I want something trashy and you know, like all this details,
Dry, trashy.
dry, trashy, whatever, thin. But I realized that that's not the way it works there. So you have to learn a little bit about the weights and about the shapes, and so I learned about that, and then years later I realized that the best thing was to find a symbol that I really like and go there and use that as a reference. So Eric Harland used to play an early dry complex 22-inch with Terence Blanchard for many years, and I always liked that symbol. And I saw Eric at some festival, and he liked one of my symbols. And I said, well, if you want to trade, I know which one I like.
Nice.
So we traded. So I got his 22, and I brought that to Zildjian. And I told Paul, hey, Paul, check it out. You made this. You did it. This is your symbol.
Nice,
so now,
nice.
let's work from here on, you know, and let's make some adjustments. But so I had something that he did, so it was a lot easier. But is that symbol that I got from Eric is one of the earliest, one of the first dry complex that it was a Bill Stewart series that they changed it later. The bell changed it and the shape changed it a little bit, but some of the first ones, that's the one that I had and that I used for to get this get these symbols.
So this is 22, and for that one, also
For this one,
20.
it's a 20, Paul Francis. I made him sign the symbols, you see, you never know. And it was the same. It was the same. I brought another symbol that I like, and I said, okay, so let's make it trashier and let's make it a little thin, and we came out with this one. So I didn't get the two at the same time. It was years in between, you know. So now you hear them together, but I got this one first, and then over time I got this one first.
What about the hi-hat?
It was a process. The hi-hat, I don't know, this was an accident. I don't know how I got them. It was an accident. They're crash symbols, 15-inch.
15-inch.
And then someone showed me this trick where if you put holes on the bottom hi-hat, you get more air and you have a better
So it's
chick
both crash,
sound.
right? Constantinople crash.
This looked like a classical symbol. Yeah. It doesn't say crash. Maybe it's a hi-hat or maybe no. But this one, yeah, it's a crash. Classical crash, 15 inches, yes. So that's, I have in total like let's say three sets of symbols that I consider my main one. I don't keep symbols that I don't use. So I am very specific. I give them back whatever I'm not using. So by now I have three sets. These ones that I use for jazz with two more options here. I have a bigger set for rock music, and also a medium level set or medium sound that is for bigger groups, big bands, and my band, which is a 14-piece. So I use that. They're a little heavier than these ones. Yeah. So with these three sets, I think I'm all covered, you know, in terms of single sound. Yep.
Right. All right. You play with a lot of musicians and a lot of different kind of music. Play with David Sanchez, Miguel Sinon, Ben Vendel, and many more.
Many more.
Yeah, on
Gary Burton.
yes, yes. On can you talk a little bit like about your perspective of like
Yes.
working with a lot of people?
Yes, well, I grew up doing it in Puerto Rico as a drummer. That's why my advice to everyone seeing this video is that expose yourself to as many styles as you can. But not only buy the records and listen to it, just go to the gigs and sit in. Go to the gig and ask the drummer to give you a chance to sit in. I used to do that all the time with reggae bands, with all the styles. So I learned how to find the links between the genres. I do a lot of homework before. So when Gary Burton called me to do his tour with the quartet, I learned the music that he sent me, but I also check it out some of his, like a lot of his recordings and a lot of the drummers that he used, which is really scary when you see all of the great drummers there. And I try to learn what he likes, you know. So I apply that to everyone. I try to understand what they're looking for, what they like, which drummer they like, which musicians they like. So I make sure that I can provide that, you know. And once that I make them feel comfortable, then little by little I add my own codes to the mix. Yeah, the codes, the drum codes or the musical codes.
Right, right.
If I jump right away with my point of view, I think the leaders will feel a little bit not so safe. You know, it will take them time to get used to the new drummer. So I always start by giving them what they're used to and what they're looking for, and then I add my own mix. And I learn the music by memory always when I play with this firm band. So this gives me the chance to focus on more on what they needed and how to help them more, and also to fix whatever I'm doing wrong for them, to fix it easier than if I'm reading the chart, you know. So a lot of homework and preparation and understanding where the artists come from, you know. If you play with Miguel and you just hear his records, you're gonna be incomplete. So you have to understand the influences that he has to make that music and what records that he likes, you know. And then when you see that he likes Steve Coleman and Lee Konitz, and a lot of Charlie Parker, and a lot of Caribbean folkloric music, ethnic music, then you're closer to what he's needing. So he's got to tell you less. And Ben Wendell, of course, you listen to Nate Wood and Kneebody and all those great drummers that play with him. Yeah.
Right. If a student or me, like, I want to buy a drum book, yeah. Do you have any advice, like, you should get this book and practice it?
How many books how many books we talking about? Tell me a number. Because I could give you 20, so you put...
But just give maybe 3 or 5.
3 books.
Yeah.
3 or 5.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good. 3, let's say I will give you 5.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
So you buy Gary Chaffee
Mm-hmm.
books. You can, let's say 2 of those series, Gary Chaffee series, to any of them, buy 2. By the John Riley's book.
John Riley, of course, yes.
By the first one, Beyond Bob. No, The Art of Bebop Drum, the first one.
Art of Bob, yeah.
So you got 3 there. Buy also The New Breed.
New Breed.
Yeah, Gary Chester, The New Breed.
There's 2, right?
There's 2, but we only have 5.
Okay.
So buy that one.
All right.
And I say that you could buy, let me give you, because I have a lot of drum books. If you're very, very brave, Marco Miniman's Extreme Interdependence for the drum set. If you're if you're up for the challenge, you know. I mean, all of them are challenging. All of them are challenging. So those 5, but I have at home many books that I love working.
If you can
Yes.
teach us teach us one lesson on the drums.
One lesson.
Yeah,
on
from any books or your own exercise like this.
Yes.
Important. Can you show us?
Could I show
Yeah,
you
yeah.
something? Yeah. So this I call the warm-up exercise, number 1.
Number one.
And I created it on the clinic in Germany. We were doing a workshop, and it was in the morning. It was very early in the morning, so the trombone player was talking to the students, and I was just there by myself. And I started playing on the practice pad, kind of warm-up exercise to wake up. So I started playing flam taps, but over triplets. So flam taps are here. But if you play that over triplets, it sounds like this. Right? So I play that on the hands, and I play 2 and 4 on the hi-hats. I always tell the students, this is for us. This is the drum porn, the fun part. This pays the bills. You know. So I always tell them to play the hi-hat because that's your reference. That makes you understand where you are in the beat, and it makes sure everything is together. You know. And also it helps the band members. So this I say always that it pays the bills. You know. So 2 and 4 on the hi-hats. So now we have these 2 things. 1, 2, 3, ah. So for the bass drum, what I started doing is very systematic and it's very simple. I started playing on the first triplet for a long time, then on the second triplet, and then on the third triplet. And I'm going to explain to you. You want to keep the tempo here, right?
Right.
So 1, 2, 3, oh. Good. So after that, you can play the first and second triplet, the second and third, and the 1 and 3rd, and then you can play all these combinations. But those 3 are the main, the basic ones. You know. After that, you can move this hand to the right cymbal. So that's a good warm-up exercise. Then you can read a syncopation with the bass drum, and then so you're working on the rudiments here. You're working on the coordination and also on the feel.
Nice.
Because when you do this type of exercise, when you have to play the first, second, and third triplet, it forces your body to work together. So
nice.
that translate to a better feel in the drums because your limbs are working
and
together.
this one is close to the new bleed concept, right?
It's using the same concept. That book is very important because it explains this universal concept of learning the drums because we have 2 hands and 2 feet. So the system works like you play 2 different patterns, and then with patterns you play a pattern with 2 different limbs, and then with the third limb you read through the page
Mhm.
or with the hi-hat, and then you change the hands and then stuff like that. So
All right. Maybe last question. Yeah. In your opinion, like, what is the most important thing that drummers
yes.
should pay attention to? Yeah, but they are not.
A basic elements.
Basic.
It sounds boring to say basic. Let's all work on the basics. And it sounds really boring. It really makes me boring too. Like makes me bored. And I, if I was a much younger drummer and I hear that from someone, from Henry, this Henry Cole, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
if I hear basic, I would be like, whatever, basic. But it is the truth, man. It is the truth. And I give you an example. When I joined David Sanchez band, to play with him. David Sanchez is one of my heroes. So when I was a kid, I grew up listening to his recording, and thinking, man, someday I want to play with this guy. I wish I could play with this guy. Because he's so avant-garde, and he's so advanced, and he's so modern, and everything is so great, you know. So, you know, 15, 20 years later, I'm on the bandstand, and the guy is complaining because he needs more pulse, more steady pulse, you know. And he's looking at me and say, Henry, the pulse. And I'm thinking, but wait a minute, I thought this was more advanced and free, and that was one of the biggest lessons there. Advanced and avant-garde and free doesn't mean that it doesn't have a steady pulse. So for drummers, that doesn't mean that you have to play every beat all the time. You have to have a solid sense of where the pulse
Right.
is. So if the song starts here, by the end, by the middle, by the solos, by the drum solo, everything, that's got to be there, or as close as possible, you know. And for someone like him or Gary Burton, they are paying attention to that all the time, man, all the time. So Gary Burton would play his solo and then be in a corner like this, looking at me and the bass player and doing like that, and just making sure that it's there on the pulse, you know. And so if it goes away from that and you start playing something that is really that he doesn't understand what it is, it's very abstract or very out of that zone, then it's not good, you know. And so I learned from them to be very strong. Also from the bass player with Miguel Zenon Hank Slavisnik. He's an Austrian bass player, so his time is super solid and super precise.
Right.
So when I joined the band, I was like this wild kid, like wanting to bash and go crazy, and he would just stay where the beat was. So I would sometimes fell off or stay behind. He would never go out of that zone to rescue me. So I was like falling off and like so I said, man, so the only way that I could be this wild drummer that I wanted to be was first to be able to play like him, you know. And once I could play exactly like what the pulse is that he has, then from there I play all my wild stuff.
Right.
And now what I do is just laugh. I said, because I am playing what I want, but we are together in that zone. So I think that's
Nice.
very important. That's very basic concept, but it's at the same time very hard. Also, I would say to drummers that buy drum books, you go to the stores and you see a lot of snare drums, a lot of bass drums, you see hundreds of cymbals, and you don't see any drum books, very few, or you see the same. It feels to me that it's in danger of extinction or something. The drum books, the DVDs, the video, you got to educate yourself and you got to buy them, and not only you're educating yourself, you're supporting the people who write them also. So someday you can write your own book, but there's a lot of value on deciding to buy a drum book and work on it and learn, And to all the drum stores, all the music stores, yes, we want to buy drum sets and sticks and cymbals, but that section where you have all the books, that's very important. I should, that's my message.
That's
Very
all right.
cool.
Maybe the last question.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
How do you balance your music with other things in your life, like such as friends, family,
Good.
job, everything? Because you are a touring musician. you
Yes,
play-
yes. I think you should never separate one from the other. That's my advice.
Right.
And if you are a drummer and you want to be a good drummer, a great drummer, or artist or athlete, and then you want to be a regular person and separate those two, that creates a lot of conflict. Because you're trying to be this great drummer, but at the same time you want to be like everyone else. So that creates a lot of conflict. So you have to make one universal you know. So because your priority is to be a great drummer, then your life becomes that. So that means you practice 6 hours a day, and you don't question yourself that, because that's part of your goal, that's part of what you want to do. So that means that you got to maybe wake up early the next day to practice your rudiments. So perhaps you cannot go out so late every day, but because your priority is to be a great drummer, you don't have the conflict of saying, maybe I should go out with all my friends and hang. When that happens, then you create that conflict, and then you don't know where to go. You see, and it's not so easy. It takes time, and to this day I'm always working on this, on trying to make my life as a whole, and not just as separated things. So you want to be a good drummer, you eat well, you clean your house often, because that's part of what you practice. That's your studio. You have your books. You organize your day. So that's it. It's just one thing. So I don't have to balance anything, because it's just one thing. So let's say maybe some days I have to do a lot more email work than others, but the email work that I'm doing is because I have to tour and I have to promote my band and stuff like that. So, but I never take away too much of the drum time, because the only reason that I'm here and the only reason that I'm sending emails to promoters is because I spend a long time practicing and I can play. So you never take that away, so that time is very precious. Maybe you do less time some days, but never take that away because you're too busy to do it.
Right.
So it becomes a way of life. So you don't have to
Right.
separate one from the other.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, William. Man.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Thank
My
you very much,
pleasure.
and hope you.
Thank you guys
Yeah.
for listening and staying there. Thank you for the video, and thank you everyone at the school, David. I hope to come back. I have to come back soon. Yeah.
ครับและทั้งหมดนี้ก็คือบทสัมภาษณ์นะครับของผมกับคุณเฮนริโคนะครับวันนี้ก็ต้องขอบคุณวิทยาลัยดุริยางคศิลป์มหาวิทยาลัยมหิดลและงาน TIJC เป็นอย่างมากนะครับที่มอบโอกาสดีๆให้เราได้สัมภาษณ์กับมือกลองระดับโลกนะครับคุณเฮนริโคนะครับวันนี้ผมและทีมงานดรัมไทยนะครับก็ต้องขอตัวลาไปก่อนนะครับแล้วพบกันใหม่โอกาสหน้าครับผมสวัสดีครับ